Hello and welcome back to another tutorial. In this video we will be creating our timer for the TimeManager. So before we start coding, let's have a look at what we will be doing. We have our timer, which holds an event that gets raised once the given duration elapsed. And we also have methods for resetting the timer, making a tick, so basically decreasing the time by the delta time, and checking for the remaining time. We also have our TimeManager, which holds our timer, as well as a TimeState, and it passes the delta time to the timer, and once this onTimerEnded event was raised or the function gets invoked, we add 1 minute to our current time state. And our time state basically just holds all the data of our time, so the total time, years, months, and so on. So now that we know what we will do, let's start implementing it. I will create a new scripts folder, and inside of it another folder called time. And first we need our timer script, and open it up in Visual Studio. We don't need any of the using statements, and it does not need to derive from modal behavior. Now we have our constructor, and with it we will pass our duration. Of course we need to store that, so let's create a float initial duration, as well as a float current or remaining time. Now we can set initial duration to duration, and we can create our reset function, a public void reset, and set remaining time to initial duration. Now we create our tick function, and pass in the delta time. And inside of here, we will decrease remaining time by delta time. And now we also need the check function, a public void check timer ended. And for that we will need a bool, timer has ended, and our event. Timer ended. Now in the check timer ended, we will check if the remaining time is less or equal to 0, or actually we will check if it is greater than 0, and if it is, we will return. If it is not, we want to set the bool to true and call our event. Now inside of tick, we only have to call check timer ended. No, first we check if the timer has ended, and if it has, we return. Then we decrease the delta time, and then we check if the timer has ended. Now, of course, we need to set timer has ended to false in our reset function. We can test it now by creating our TimeManager. And we need a private timer. Use the Unity awake function to set the timer to a new timer of 1 second duration. And inside of the update method, we will call timer.tick and pass in time.deltaTime. Then we also need to subscribe to the event, so timer.onTimerEnded plus equals timer.onTimerEnded. And for now, we will just call a debug.log the timer has ended. And of course, we also need to unsubscribe from the event on destroy timer. We can actually just copy that and change it to minus. And before we call the debug.log, I want to reset the timer. So this gets called every second. Let's see if that works. We create our TimeManager script or game object, add the TimeManager script to it, and look at our console. And indeed, it seems to work. So that's good. Now, the last thing remaining is to create our TimeState script. There we go. We also don't need to derive from mono behavior, and we don't need the using statements. But we need a private int total time and also a public int total time, and that's just a getter for the total time. So now we can serialize this field. Serial. Oops. Serial. We actually need Unity Engine. Now we can call serialize field. Also, this needs to be system.serializable. We also need our year, months, and so on. Now for the months, we can just create a enum. I will create it at the top here. So that will be a public enum months. And for this example, we will be using the seasons, so spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Can close close that. Another serialized field, private months, month. Let's just copy that and change it to day, hour, and minute. And now we will be creating the, I forgot what it's called. Property, yes, the property. So we can do that by right-clicking and going to quick actions and refactorings and encapsulate field day, but still use field. We can do this for every one of these. Come on. You can also click on it, so it's highlighted, and hold Alt and click Enter, and this menu will appear. Like that. And we will remove the setters. So like that. And we will also be adding our constructor. For some reason, they decided to add this weird thing in Visual Studio that wants to create a constructor itself. I don't really like it. Let's write it ourselves. Int day, int hour, and int minute. And then we will set this dot year equals year. This dot month is equal to month. This dot day to day. And that should be it. Now if we go to our TimeManager and add a serialized field, to our private TimeState, and I will call it internal time, we should see it in here, and indeed we can. And we can change the values, although this won't do much for now. As you can see, total time will stay at 0. So in the next video, we will actually be creating our incrementing and decreasing of the timer. See you then.